Hello, Dr. Dolan and classmates. My name is Ermelinda Bost, and I'm here to do a PowerPoint about conflict and personal relationships. Let's get started. Do you ever wonder what is the proper way to engage in a conversation? Or even if you're saying what's right or what's wrong? I'm here to talk about those topics. Let's get started. Recently, I have done some research written by a professor at the University of Arizona named Corey Floyd. In his book published in 2017 named Interpersonal Communication, I have gathered, as you've seen in my PowerPoint, there are 5 key points to these main characteristics of conflict and personal relationships. So let's talk about it. First one is normal. When you think normal is what's your first instinct of engaging in a conflict? Are you going to be aggressive? Are you going to be respectful? Are you going to be just flat out mean? Well, if you sit back and think about it, if you're positive, you might actually get a positive outcome. And if you're negative, you might get a negative outcome. So let's get more into depth about this. The normal way to actually engage in a conflict would be to think about it, because it's always not a bad thing to take a step back and think of a positive solution so you ultimately reach that positive solution. The second one, this one has 3 steps: content, rational, and procedural dimensions. Content. What do you think about when you think of content? The main topic in which you disagree on. That'll be basically the first step. The second step is going to be rational. Rational is basically flat out bringing up the question or the disagreement to start the conflict. Other people use the word confronting. How am I going to confront you? What am I going to confront you about? So, the rational dimension actually comes in place after confronting this person, because you are reflecting on the questions that are being raised from the content of your conflict, which leads to the third part of the dimensions, procedural. Procedural is how exactly you are going to solve this conflict between the other person. Are you going to be flat out forward? Are you going to go around it? A lot of people ultimately want to be flat out and forward with their conflict. But there's also people that don't know how to do this, which reflects to a key point called meta conflict. People just can't solve a conflict. So they do meta conflict. Just avoid it. After you have either decided if you want to solve it or not, which typically most people, hopefully they solve it, that's where the procedural part comes in. Because you flat out let out your rules and expectations as a result of this conflict. I have used an example about my husband using my credit card to buy truck parts without me knowing, which if you're married, that's a pretty big deal because it's both of y'all's money, not just one. You can't just do whatever you want with one money, right? So, let's start with content. The way I want to approach my husband is, you are using my credit card to buy truck parts and I do not approve. Now let's put in rational. Rational is me approaching him and saying, I'm really concerned that you will continue to do this behind my back because I have bills to pay and it's not working out with my budgeting. Now, the procedural is me asking my husband, what can I do for you to let me know that you are using my credit card? Or 2, what is the best way to solve this problem between us? Or 3, we need to find a step where we both agree that you will not use my credit card until bills are paid. I am applying ways to solve this conflict by by the third procedural dimension in conflict. Now, the third one, direct or indirect. Directly solving these is where you can immediately just approach somebody. Direct in this case means exactly what it says, direct. I could directly run to my manager, say, hey, we need to solve this problem about our tea table just spilling everywhere. Or I could do indirect and just keep pouring tea and letting it spill all over the floor. That would be the proper way to indirectly cause a fight, because I know how mad it makes her to have water everywhere, that I'm continuously just turning on the tea table and so forth to make that mess and basically nitpicking a fight with her. And the fourth one, harmful. What does harmful mean? Well, harmful is you're being vengeful to get what you want in a conflict. And that's not always nice. That will usually end up being a very mean thing to do. And the last but not least, beneficial. How would you think conflict is beneficial? Well, one of my key points is that when you positively deal with something at the proper time, you're actually improving your communicating skills and your thought process of solving a conflict for future references. Next, we will talk about common sources of conflict. To discuss this, I have gathered information from a study done by Larry Erbert. In this study, the first main topic that he touched on this was personal criticism. In a relationship, the first thing you want to do is criticize about what your husband's fixing to wear to dinner. I don't like that, honey. You need to change. Which will just result in a conflict about, please stop telling me what to wear. In his study, Mr. Erbert discovered that 20% of couples mention criticism in their daily vocabulary. Isn't that crazy? The second one, finances. Who doesn't argue about finances? In this study, 13% of married couples thought about where the money is coming from, where is it going, because nowadays it's getting kind of scarce. And let's face it, when do we not ever wonder, oh, do we have this much money? The third one, in this study, Mr. Erbert found that 42% argue about who's going to do the chores in the house. Is that crazy? Next, let's talk about gender and culture. In this topic, I want to touch something that hits from home. Gender. In today's society, it is shown that women are just expected to be nice, and men, go for it, fight that person. And that's just the way today's society is. With this, it actually only affects us in the long run, because women, we kind of allow that for it to look like men are entitled to do so much more than women, which it shouldn't be that way. The difference is that men are just typically taught to be more aggressive in everything they do. As for women, we have to play nice. Culture. This definitely hits home. Because I have Hispanic in my background, I was always taught to sit back and just watch and walk away, because it's not healthy for me to engage in a conflict that could eventually turn into a physical fight. So, what does my mom tell me? Stay safe. As for somebody who is white, like my husband, he was taught more to be aggressive, get your point across, and do something about it. And unfortunately, that's how it is nowadays because of society. With these main topics about personal relationships, I think I have touched all the characteristics. My name is Ermelinda Bost again. I hope y'all enjoy this PowerPoint. Thank you.